to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 140, Long May He Reign.
Yes.
And a pretty long episode it was. But not as long
as next episode. For those of you who didn't see it, Critical Role tweeted and Facebook posted and all their social media that the episode finale is clocking in at just over 7 hours with one break. And while I did call this setup, not the length, but the 2-episode fight and then a final episode.
Yeah.
In between last week and this week, I kind of thought that I was wrong because they also posted a thing that said, hey, campaign wrap-up questions have to be in by the 31st. So I'm like, okay, 140 is the final episode because why would they do an episode that could answer questions or bring up new questions after? But they are, so.
Yeah, Rose. I am certainly not ready for 7 hours of a finale. And the reason it's 7 hours is because they were pre-recording all of this stuff and they had a production meeting, and when they decided to end campaign 2 and start campaign 3, they had a date to end by. And that's why this episode is going to be 7 hours.
Yeah, and it's because they want to start campaign 3 and Talks Machnia 3, all the new campaign stuff in conjunction with the laxing of the rules so they can all be at the table together again.
Oh, I think the campaign wrap-up is going to be live.
Oh, it is.
Person.
It is.
Okay.
Because this next episode is a pre-recorded one, so it's not going to be. But because Brian said in the last talks last week that this is the final pre-recorded Zoom style Talks Machnia.
Yeah.
But everything going forward after Thursday, whatever small break they have to redesign the set to bring it back.
Oh, that redesign is done. It's been built. It's ready to go.
Well, probably, but whatever time they want to hammer out their characters, talk with Matt, about that, release promos, is going to coincide with the laxing of the rules, both state and federal wise, with vaccinations. Make sure that all their staff are fully vaccinated, i.e. 7 days past the last dose, so that they can go back to being all together.
Yeah. But let's talk about this episode.
Yes.
This episode begins with Matt asking, "Where do you want to be?" and them trying to get a preview or a view of Molly or of Lucian. And Matt says, "No, I'm rewinding for narrative purposes. So where do you want to be?"
I mean, yeah, they were wanting to set up tactically with where he was and stuff, but also, at the end of last episode, he described it.
Yeah.
So, to be fair,
Yeah.
And he said, "No, I'm rewinding because you guys land and then you notice him.
Yeah.
So you have to pick your spot first, and then I'll show you where he's at."
Yeah. Not gargantuan. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Based on Matt's description with buildings and stuff coming out of him, I was like, it has to be gargantuan.
Yeah.
So when he placed that, in my mind, small mini on the table, I was like,
Yeah, but in his new description, his retooled description that he gave, it was almost like that fountain that they had noticed, and they're like, "Something's up with this," is where he was connected to the city.
Mm. So
he was, that statue from the fountain is where his body connected.
Yeah.
They were right, there was something up with it.
Several of them got an action.
Yes.
To prepare for the encounter. Gesture, mirror imaged,
Duplicate.
Caleb cast mirror image.
Mm-hmm.
And I got super excited when he did. I was like, that's going to save his life.
Yep. And it did.
Cut to, 3 hours later. Yeah.
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 You and I, especially since that one shot I did in Exandria, you and I both, whenever the wizard cast Maroon, were both like, yep, know where that's going.
Yeah. So good.
Because that's what your wizard did to me.
Yep. But right off the bat, Lucian does summon Cataclysm and targets a cleric, which sets the tone.
Yeah.
For the battle.
In his two-part deal, he targets first the biggest damage reducer, negating crits and stuff, and targets him with the one that pins him in place.
Yeah.
So I can get just out of your range. And then arguably targets the damage dealer.
Yeah.
The barbarian.
Yeah. With the ability was called Nightmare Cage.
Yeah.
Which oddly was a dexterity save to avoid, but a wisdom save to escape.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting mechanic.
Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of, I think it's because they were in the Astral Sea, that in moving, like, falling into a pit. But that pit's, like, actually in your, you know what I mean? I think it's, like, I took it as it's just the wonkiness of physically being in the astral plane.
See, part of me wonders if he didn't design that to help those with lower wisdoms, because most of the low wisdoms have a good dex. So he designs this ability so that the low wisdom characters have a good chance of avoiding it to begin with, and the low dex ones have a higher wisdom, so they have a higher chance of getting caught in it, but an easier chance to escape.
So that could be the mechanical aspect by why, but I think I hit on the narrative reason as to why.
Well, I mean, I understand why it's a wisdom check to escape.
Well, yeah.
It's just, it's odd.
I'm talking about the pairing of dex and wisdom to avoid escape.
Yeah. But, yeah. And we get confirmation, layer actions.
Yep.
Which is what the first fight was missing.
Yep.
And the first one that he does is to initiate the death spiral with the pattern revealed.
Yep.
Save or get an eye. And interesting mechanic on that side was the area is charged with psychic energy. So enabling them to better wield, to manifest things.
Yeah, which we don't know until they try.
Right.
We don't know that that's what it does. We just know that it happened, which is awesome,
Yeah. Then we get confirmation the eyes are involved.
Yep. And
3 per turn.
Not exactly how I predicted, but how I predicted.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind them was not what I predicted.
Yeah.
But
and they changed every. Well, they had the potential to change every turn.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the eyes turn, Matt rolls to see which eyes are in play, and then resolves their abilities.
Yep.
And interestingly, blanks were not ignored.
Right.
But that doesn't come up till later. But
yeah.
He rolls until there's 3. And yes, Rose. Caleb kicking us off summoning the glaive.
Yep.
Lorenzo's glaive.
So.
And Caleb was manifesting every turn. He did not cast a single spell.
Yep. After mirror image. Persuasion and imagination were the two biggest weapons that the Mighty Nine used.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably.
Yeah.
Because Caleb did it every time, but everybody tried it at least once. And everybody was using their bonus actions.
I kind of wish that Matt had given Caleb advantage because of what he summoned, because of the imagery.
Oh, yeah.
Not that he needed it. I think he succeeded on that.
Yeah.
On the first one. But, like, to me, giving him advantage would have made sense. And I loved Matt's reiteration that this has a death spiral in this encounter. When he says, there's a timer on this battle.
Yeah. Yeah, and that glaive was one of my favorite moments. Yes, definitely.
Certainly in the early battle, arguably the most powerful moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We also get legendary actions. Matt's pulling them out. And now he has 5, we find out. Where he can use an eye, he can teleport. Later we see a wing strike.
Yeah. A 6-strike wing strike.
None of the legendary action.
Okay.
The legendary action was only 3, I think.
Only.
The action was 6, but yes.
Yeah.
And then another legendary action to move the eyes.
Yes.
And Jester banishing
Vigilum.
The anti-magic.
Yeah, that was another great moment.
Yeah.
Laura, always on top of it, pieces together. Wait, these eyes are separate entities. They're the different people. I'm going to banish just that one.
Yeah. It's arguably clutch.
Yeah.
And he's gone for 2 rounds. And it took her taking 50 damage.
Yeah.
To bring him back.
Yeah.
So good.
Speaking of Jester taking damage, we see Caleb in his manifesting his heal. He's like, I just imagine her wounds closing, and he rolls, and they do. He gets, a first level cure wounds out of it, but he gets it at range. He gets it without knowing the spell, without being a class they can cast,
The healing power of love.
I'm just saying, WotC, take notes. These kind of abilities that Matt let them pull off in the astral plane is how you do a psionicist.
No. We'll see if we get psionics.
We don't. We have psionics. We have the psionics we're going to get until 6th edition.
Fair. Ford, right off the bat, summons Marine Layer.
Yep.
And is it tactical or cowardly? His first 3 rounds of combat.
I don't think it's either.
Okay.
I think, it's both neither and both. It is Ford in panic mode and not sure what to do. And
That's fair.
He's going in the moment to moment until he can formulate a plan. He's not being cowardly, it's more of being cautious when you don't know what to do and you don't have a plan, so you're doing things that could come off as either cowardly or tactical.
Mitigate risk to yourself and find targets of opportunity.
A plan, yeah.
I buy that.
I don't think it was cowardly. I don't think it was anything but exactly buying time. I got to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do before I die trying to do it.
I was a little surprised, A, how much they spread themselves out. And then B, where they were in relation with other people.
Yeah.
Because Ford he was nowhere near Jester.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere near anyone, really.
Yep.
So I just wonder, and they'll probably talk about this in the campaign wrap-up, because they usually start the last episode.
Yeah.
Well,
most of the questions are usually
why he was that far away from anyone he wanted to protect.
Yeah.
And so that's why I figured they'll talk about that. And maybe we'll get an answer. What Travis was thinking, being that far away from everybody.
Yeah.
Star Razor, his vestige, didn't play a part in the fight. Which I found interesting.
Yeah. But we did see both the Marine Layer and Arcane Gate make strategic plays.
Yes.
We really saw Travis the Tactician in this episode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. And arguably, he was gonna... The Arcane Gate and the Marine Layer arguably saved the clerics from dying again. Yeah, Rose, exactly. He has the tough feat, and yet he's avoiding all damage. That's why I lean towards cowardly.
Okay. I mean, far be it from me to defend Ford's honor, but I just didn't.
I mean, you make good points.
I actually thought this episode was the most noble Ford has been the entire campaign. Especially at post-fight, which we'll talk about later. You know, there were some things that I was like, damn.
Yeah, afraid Caleb and Bo would turn on them. That might be why. But if that's the case, no amount of distance is going to help him.
No, I really think if there was a fear of Caleb and Bo turning, there would have been hints of it in the previous battle.
Yeah.
And there wasn't.
Right.
It played into the whole Somnovum being different personalities and having the political intrigue within themselves. All these people with eyes and everybody. And at this point, everybody's got eyes. So if one of them's going to turn, they're all going to turn.
Which we see near the end.
Yeah.
When he tries to activate their eyes.
Yeah.
Essek gets hit with the chains of guilt.
Yep.
And he binds two eyes together. Hurt one, hurt both. Which pays off when one of them disappears and they still kill one. So killing two.
Yeah, Rose Ford had to make up for the lost time. That's why he was
Liam freaking out when Matt says Lucian makes 6 attacks.
Yeah.
Against Veth.
Yeah.
was pretty good.
Yeah. I was kind of freaking out too. It's one hell of a multi-attack.
Yeah, well, and she couldn't uncanny dodge any of it.
Yeah, and especially when they're all doing roughly 20 points.
Yeah.
A pop.
Yeah. Laura correctly surmised, don't be close to it.
Yeah, and then she was.
Well, he made himself close to her. But yeah. Yasha attacking Zuala.
Mm-hmm.
I had to wonder how... Because in talks, Liam was talking about how things happen and you sort of retroactively put them back throughout the campaign.
Right.
And the moment in Yasha's dream had that feel a little bit for me. Because we haven't heard a lot of the day-to-day with Zuala and how that all went down. We haven't heard a whole lot of that.
Right.
So the only time that we've had that she has interacted with Zuala have been in dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Don't Let Me Be a Chain.
Yep.
When Yasha got her wings back. And then this time, where she attacks her. Do you think, like, she was totally, absolutely positive that Zuala, that this was not real.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think her constantly fighting and nearly killing Bo prepared her to attack Zuala in that moment? Like, some
maybe,
of the...
But I see it more as, because as soon as we see that Zuala, why did you abandon me when the previous time, and actually I think there's been a couple of times they interact, not, or she's seen visions of when she interacted with her and stuff. Zuala's not, from what I've gathered, Zuala wouldn't, that's not something Zuala would say.
No, but it's how Yasha views her actions. Because she straight up said, I left her.
But the fact that Zuala said it, I think, is what tipped Yasha off. This isn't real. And that's why she attacked. This is Lucian fucking with me.
Yeah, but again, like, did all the times that she has attacked Bo prepare her for that? Is what I'm saying. Like, or
no, because all of those times were being forced to attack Bo. This was of her own free will.
Well, arguably she was forced to attack her, being what she viewed as the focus of her nightmare there, and that attacking her would get her out. Also, Yasha didn't resist the necrotic damage.
Yeah.
Or at least it wasn't stated that she was going to take half. Ashley may have just done it, but Ashley has never done that.
Yeah.
She always confirms if Matt doesn't say it for her.
Yeah.
So I was a little... Not that that was the biggest thing that Ashley forgot to do. The biggest thing Ashley forgot to do was to take her sentinel attacks.
Yeah.
And she arguably could have got the killing blow on him had she done that.
Yeah.
Because she did 50 points of damage with one attack.
Yeah.
So, yeah. she arguably could have been the one to kill him. Gravity is another layer action we see.
Mm-hmm.
Removes their ability to fly. And then Travis sets up the foreshadowing. Well, what's this gonna mean? Like, what's the 1-2 on this? And the 1-2 is I'm gonna throw a wizard at a wizard, and the tower he's on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, and that round of combat also saw Caduceus finally reach out and try to talk to Molly.
Yep.
A taste of things to come. As it turns out.
We'll discuss that.
Didn't work, but...
Yeah.
Then probably the funniest part of the fight, Jester turning the stalagmite into a giant dildo to beat Lucian with. And all I was seeing in that moment was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Nice.
When they're talking about the dude killing the guy with the giant rubber black cock. And I've been waiting for Jester to do something like that, so this was very satisfying.
Yeah.
Ford finally identifies what his job is going to be in this fight, as you say.
Yep.
Waiting to understand the situation, and begins working on trash duty. Because he has 3 ranged attacks, D10 plus 5, and they can't see him. So he just starts taking out the eyes.
Yep.
And they killed 2 that round. And then the other funny moment was Laura observing that Essek has to walk.
Yeah. Atrophied legs.
It's so funny.
I love that his calves are going to be so short tomorrow.
Yeah. And then we get another layer action revealed. The flesh absorbing them.
Yep.
Take a bit of psychic damage and they're grappled. Which leads to a funny moment later when Marisha tries to will herself free, and it's like, oh yeah, that's done.
And you did it! I didn't just give it to her. I'm like, yeah, you're good.
Or like, just say, yeah, not only are you free, but everybody's free.
Yeah. You're that good. Dope monk shit.
But Veth drops. And...
drops, but not dead.
Yes.
Just
the
important
necrotic
distinction in this battle.
Yes. The necrotic damage knocks her unconscious. And then, in short order, Caduceus.
Yep.
Also almost gets knocked unconscious. After Lucian drops Jester. Dead.
Yeah.
Kills her outright.
Straight up.
And I'm interested to hear Laura's thoughts, because she seemed fairly resigned to that outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she was crying because Travis gave her Kleenex and stuff. And Ashley was wrecked.
Yeah.
which is probably one of the reasons why she didn't think to Sentinel attack him. But yeah, which we called.
Yeah.
That Jester would be.
Yeah.
One of them.
We called the two most likely, and our orders were reversed from each other. But we called our top two were Jester and Caleb.
Yep.
And those are the two that end up dying.
Yep. And Mirror Image did save his life for a round.
He rolled exactly what he needed to. Yep, nope. Oh, they all go against my mirror images.
So good. Essek lifting Caleb out was another great moment.
Yep.
And lots of fan art out there.
Yeah.
About
I also enjoyed Essek using his fortune and favor to get Cad free from the statue.
Well, no, he used his fortune's favor lifting Caleb.
Okay, that's right. But yeah.
Because Caduceus used freedom of movement on himself.
Right.
But yeah. Lots of sort of going around to end up basically in the middle again.
Mm-hmm.
With everyone sort of tightening the noose, as it were.
Yeah.
And the dice continue to deliver in moments of peak stress. When Marisha said, when we were joking about her willing herself free, but then she wraps her hands in Molly's belt.
Yep.
To go in and rolls 2 crits.
Yeah. Imagining that power, her words.
Yeah.
Think they filmed it on the Astral Sea?
It was MVP for the dice. I mean, it's hard to argue against that, but
yeah,
because there was a lot. Jester's divine intervention not happening.
Mm-hmm.
The crits, the mirror images, everyone succeeding against the pattern both times.
Yeah. Both Ford and Caduceus in their talks with Essek.
Yeah.
Are, just stellar. Caleb's use of the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
Jester's plea in bringing Caleb back. Caleb's reimagining Jester's body being absorbed and then put up by Caduceus to save her. I mean, arguably, Jester and Caleb saved each other multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Travis's reaction to when Caleb said he absorbs her into the computer. He's like, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah. Jester getting the killing blow.
Yeah.
Was awesome. But her real, MVP moment, to me, was after Caduceus brings her back. They're in Ford's fog cloud, and she casts a 5th level Mass Cure Wounds.
Yep.
And basically heals 23, I think?
22.
Yeah. Hit points to everyone, to almost everyone.
Yep.
In the battle.
Yeah, that was a huge moment. Yeah. I honestly, I'm going to have to side with Rose because I couldn't pick an MVP. Everybody just had stellar moments to me. There at different points, every one of the cast had MVP in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely. It was hard for me too, but I have to settle on Laura.
Okay, and
because of her banishment from off the top.
Yep.
Her mass cure wounds, and her bringing Caleb back, and
the
getting
dildo.
the dildo, and and the killing blow.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah, she was up there for me. All of them were in serious contention. Caleb was another strong one, especially with the Philosopher's Stone at the end and all the manifesting he did throughout. You know, using the scene.
Well, actually, him doing the manifestation, while cool and very thematic, arguably he did less damage. Because he was doing that, the fight went on longer. That's why I don't give it to him for that.
Okay.
What he did with the attempt to do cure wounds on Jester and then teleporting her, basically.
Yeah.
Those were pretty big.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it might have meant a turn. But and Ford's biggest moments for me for MVP were taking out the trash, and then Divine Gate, Arcane Gate, and shrouding them all in the cloud.
Yeah.
Especially once they killed Ira.
Yeah. Combat-wise, those three things, and then story-wise, probably my favorite Ford moment, one of, a top moment for sure, period. Maybe not top 10, but a top moment, is his talk with Essek. And just that, when they initially attempted to bring Molly back with the Philosopher's Stone. And they go through everything, and everyone's, I mean, this felt like Caleb saying, let's be big damn heroes. We came all this way, we went through all this shit, 2 of us just died and came back. Why the hell did we do this if not to bring him back? Let's do it. And it fails.
Yeah.
And Essek just walks off in a hump, and Ford goes to him, and he's like, and you can see Talison's face just lit up like a Christmas tree. Proud papa moment.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Ford is talking about how it never really ends just because you can't see the next step. And full out goes devotee of the Wild Mother. Here's the circle of life.
I'm having difficulty thinking of another moment when Taliesin looked as proud.
Yeah.
As that.
Exactly.
Yeah, Rose, his reaction also surprised me, Essek's reaction to the whole thing.
It did me as well.
Except for the fact that it's, for me in that moment, Essek's reaction was based on the fact that he and Caleb discovered that time travel was a real thing. And I think that's what was informing his monologue and the discussion with Ford.
Okay, I can see that. My take on it was just that it wasn't necessarily a true reaction of what he's, it's not. It was the stress of all this. How when you're overstressed and overextended, which he was both physically, mentally, having to walk for the first time in how long, the battle, all of it. And sometimes when you're stressed like that, you can just snap over something simple, and it may have nothing to do with that, but that's just the breaking point. And that's how I saw Essex's reaction.
That's fair. Yeah, exactly, Rose. It was especially given what Caleb had been doing the whole time. He's teleporting other people from range.
Yeah.
He's healing people. That's not something a wizard can do. Like all the things that Caleb was doing in that fight that wizards can't do.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had just found proof of time travel and that he and Caleb could maybe change something.
Absolutely.
I
100% agree with that. I did not think of that when I watched it. And my reaction was just, he's under all this stress, mental, emotional, physical, and, you just snap. You have a million things going on, stressing you, and you're holding it together. And then one little thing that normally would never bother you, normally is outside, but because of all the buildup, you snap.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw it coming from. And it doesn't mean that both aren't true.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like he had no emotional attachment to Molly.
Yeah, he had never met Molly.
But I think part of him sees what the Mighty Nine were doing to get this guy back. And I think for sure there was some part of Essek that remembered and was reiterated while they were in Cognosa. You're part of the Mighty Nine. And I think that sentiment has played in his mind, and he sees what they're doing to bring this guy back.
Yeah.
And I think that is what turned Essek from the villain that he was into their ally, was their faith in him.
Yeah.
And seeing their faith in this guy and what they're prepared to do to bring him back. I think part of that also might have been, I don't want it to fail for this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, right along the lines as Caduceus. Caduceus, no attachment to Molly.
Yeah.
And in the end, he gets the 2%, which, I told you earlier today, I love the fact that the person who worships an established deity from the beginning gets divine intervention 3 times in the campaign. The person who, for all intents and purposes, worships a pretender to the throne.
Yeah, a false deity, yeah.
Never gets it.
Yeah. So good.
But he gets that 2%, and his words are, they've come this far. They deserve it. Just do this for them. Let them have it.
And Matt allows that to grant another D20 roll.
Right. It does not guarantee automatic success. He's like, all right, we'll just reset to the D20 roll all there. It'll be the same number, the same, ritual. It's only got to get a 5 or better, Matt says later. Let's see if it happens,
Yeah. And they bring him back. As funny as it was to watch Taliesin have to play 2 different people.
Yeah.
I wish that he had failed.
As I 100% agree. As much as I am a fan of Molly, I know you don't like him, but he's my favorite Taliesin character. And we established that early on, before Caduceus was even introduced.
Yes. Yep.
I was completely happy. I think Taliesin was too. That the Molly's story wasn't done at that point, but Molly's story was done at that point. If that makes sense, you know. At the point that Lorenzo killed him. That's it for Molly. That's not it for the Nonagon, the Eyes of Nine, the body. But you know, I think I would have been okay, and even a little more okay if it had failed, but it didn't, and I'm okay with that too.
Oh, that's an interesting point, Rose. That Taliesin had committed Molly's not coming back, and that everyone's speeches during the ritual might have convinced Taliesin to try.
Yeah, I think so, because, and that's a good point, because if you think back and look at the reactions on Taliesin's face, it goes from really, we're doing this, to wow, let's do this. Over the course of that.
Yeah.
It really does. He looks almost annoyed that they're trying it when they first bring it up.
Yeah.
And you watch his face soften through that.
Yeah, that's true. So there may be a piece to that. And also, interestingly, Matt didn't ask him.
Yeah.
Because that has been asked in the past.
Yep.
Do they want to come back?
Yeah.
When that was a potential, when the answer to that question was potentially a no. I think of Scanlan.
Yeah. I believe Bax was asked as well at one point.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I thought was interesting is, one, Matt didn't prompt him at all.
Yep. Matt
didn't give him any perspective of Molly's.
Yep.
Molly's back. And Taliesin went directly into, as we understand, Molly's state of mind when he came out of the grave.
Yep.
And he just kept saying empty.
Yeah.
And they call him Molly Mock.
The difference being that in the story we were given via Yasha and Molly Mock, when he first came for the first 2 days, all he said was empty.
Yeah.
And that became his initials, Molly Mock Tea Leaf. Although in this one, we see hints of fuzzy, but memories of Molly's life.
Yeah.
Because he addresses love, joy, magician, you know.
And I think
Tinker.
I think part of that, like, why he went in that direction, and like the single word and stuff, I think that's Taliesin's interpretation of the Somnova.
Yeah.
And so I think that played into it as well.
Definitely.
And the potential that I don't think Taliesin knows how Molly was brought back the first time.
Correct.
I think he just stated
no,
he died and then he can't.
He very specifically stated his first memory is hand through the earth.
Yeah.
He has no knowledge of what happened, how it happened. That is
Whereas
very clearly stated.
This time, a cleric definitely casts the spell. Well, not a cleric, technically. A wizard, I guess. But somebody cast the spell to bring him back.
Well, and then a god intervened on behalf of a cleric.
Yes. Yeah. Which I kind of want to say that we called Caleb using his stone. We just assumed it would be on Jester.
Yes,
Or
we
Caduceus.
100% said that Caleb would end up using his stone to raise dead. We said
Uh-huh.
that well before they even entered the Astral Sea.
Yeah.
That by the end of the campaign, probably in the end battle, Caleb would end up using the stone for
Yeah.
raise dead.
Well, I mean, how many false starts did we have leading into this?
Yeah.
Where we thought, oh, is this going to be the... No. There's definitely no.
Yeah.
No, okay. But that's why this last episode is 7 hours. Because they drug their feet, tooth and nail. They had to... Kicking and screaming had to be dragged into their backstories.
Yep.
And this is the last episode.
So
this is the last chance you're going to have to tie stuff up.
we're going to have reunions with family.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see what happened, whether Marion and the gentleman patch things up or not.
Yeah.
We're going to see, of course, Yeza and Luke. You're going to see the Blooming Grove, because that's where they're going to immediately.
Yeah.
We will see Taliesin juggle two characters for a little bit, and then one will be dropped off. I don't think it'll be Caduceus. I think it'll be Molly.
Oh, interesting.
I would two reasons.
Okay.
One, I don't think Taliesin wants to play
a 5th level blood hunter.
Well, someone I was going to say someone who is basically stuck in at most 3 words.
Yeah.
You know, I think they either leave him at the Blooming Grove while they go tie up their loose ends, you know, under the care of Cat's family, or they leave him with the gentleman under his care for a minute. But the other reason is we've had Caduceus a lot longer than we had Molly.
Yeah.
Caduceus is more entwined in the ongoing events that need to be resolved. And it's only fair that he gets to help in the resolving.
Fair. And see, so we were talking about that it's going to be over a 7-hour episode. That is potentially an hour per player.
Yes.
Which makes my mind think we will have at least one scene for each of them.
Okay.
But some of them are going to be very fast. I think we are going to have an encounter. I think we may have downtime.
I don't know if we have an encounter.
Well, here's why I say we have an encounter.
Okay.
Because I think we're going to have downtime, and Essek and Caleb are going to figure out the time travel. And Caleb is going to try to go back and save his parents.
Okay.
And that will be the encounter that we have, is their time travel mission. And I hope...
I see that as being glossed over and done as a one-shot. Like the search for Grog. I think Caleb's wrap-up scene is what I said last week. He takes Vestarogna's spot as the Archmage of Antiquities because he's uniquely qualified. He's been to Aor. He's been to Cognosa. He knows about time travel. It could be after the downtime and they figure out the time travel. Trent's wanted him as a successor, so he's wanted him to become an Archmage already. And he sets up to help Astrid replace Trent and find a spot for Eadwulf, and now they have 1/3 of the Archmages in their corner. that is Caleb's end story. The going back in time at best is a one-shot explored later.
It's 7 hours.
It is. That end story for Caleb is a good hour, his share of the show. Easily, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point, and it's hard for me to argue that it won't be a one-shot. I really want it to happen so that we can have a definite answer about whether the time travel in Exandria produces the beacons.
Hmm. And see, that seems more like a one-shot reveal than a...
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely possible that each one of them does, like, the aftermath of getting back to the Grove, the interactions there, takes 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And then the debate on the logistics of getting everyone to where they need to be and saying goodbyes when and where that happens.
Yeah.
I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that we get a marriage ceremony between Yasha and Bo, and that Jester officiates.
100%.
Uh,
we definitely go to the island and see Bandrin. That's Ford's closing arc.
And I think a fair portion of it may be them trying to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
And it may come down to, I mean, the easiest way is to message Orly and see where he is, how soon he can get to Nicodranus.
Yeah.
They use Circle of Teleportation to go to Zadash. Bo debriefs the Cobalt Soul, while the rest of them go get Marion and the gentleman, maybe.
And Yez and Luke.
And then they go to Nicodranus, probably to use his tower and debrief him. And that's probably going to be could be 40 minutes to an hour, because depending on how much each of them has to say to him, whether or not while they are there he calls Allura to come collect her stuff.
Either that happens or they have to go to her to return the stuff.
Yes, but I think it's easier.
They go to her to return her staff. They get to meet Keyleth, who then gives Caduceus the staff that we said he should have gotten a while ago. The staff of the one.
Which would have come in super handy in this fight in the Astral Sea, by the way.
But still, we could still get that moment.
Ah, that would be amazing.
Because these people are coming to return my staff. Hey, I'm sure she knows. She's put two and two together. She knows they're the ones that rescued Vila. She knows Keyleth.
Yeah.
Hey, those people that saved your mom are coming.
Well, those people who saved your mom are in the Astral Sea right now defending.
Yeah. They just pulled a Vox Machina, and now they're coming to return my staff. I know you wanted to thank them.
Yeah.
Keyleth and Vila show up.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a priest of the Wild Mother. Here, I've had this, and I swore I would give it to you.
Yeah. That would be awesome. To have the staff return to the Blooming Grove. That'd be cool, yeah.
And if Mollymog is still with them at that time, then we get to see Cad or Thousand and Marisha each play two characters in the same scene.
Yes. 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 That's Top tier wish list.
Top tier right there.
I think we'll have a break, potentially, of a week or so, is my guess.
Okay.
We'll know for sure on Tuesday on Talks, because they'll announce when the first live episode's going to be, whether it will be that Thursday or the following.
Correct.
But if it's not the following, if it's not that Thursday, then we're looking at potentially, like, them having a break for the 4th of July at the very start of the new campaign, and and Matt's normal August time off that they've had. I don't know, because Burning Man, it's canceled, so they can't go to Burning Man. So
which is why they take it off.
Yeah.
I think they start just after the 4th.
Do you think we'll have a month off?
Yeah. I think they're like, let's take a few weeks, finish what we need to at the set, finish Matt's note-taking, planning, because, sure, while he's been preparing for it, he hasn't dedicated to that, until recently after the pre-record stopped, because he's had to look at the...
No, I think his campaign 3 stuff's ready to go.
Okay. Characters need to be finished.
I think they're done.
I don't think so.
I guess we'll have something to talk about next week then.
Of course, if he does the same thing he did in this campaign, the off-camera first level one-shots with the players.
Unless we start at a higher level.
Yeah.
In any case, we will see you guys next week.
Yep.
Where we will be hard out for talks.
And so we will be covering a lot and quickly.
Yeah. Probably. See you guys.
Bye.